Hello guys, welcome to our new property channel where I'm going to be going through absolutely everything you need to know when it comes to properties in the UAE, whether you're a first-time buyer or a seasoned investor. Now, a little bit about myself. I was a very successful real estate agent in the UK. I was the top performing agent in the entire UK, doing over £150 million worth of deals in a very short space of time off the back of a football and plumbing career. So I've now relocated over here in the UAE since the launch of our company has been so successful over here while still being massively successful in the UK. It just felt like a natural transition for me to do so. And in this transition as well, it means that I am looking after a lot of UK clients over here, whether they're relocating or investing. Now, over here in Dubai, the property market is very, very different to what you're used to in different parts of the world and in the UK. So the whole purpose of these episodes is just to cover everything that you need to know from start to finish to ensure you're making the right investments or the right choices, whether it be for your family home or to a massive property portfolio that's going to generate you a lot of income. So over here in Dubai, there's two different areas in which I specialize in covering. One is secondary luxury property sales. Now, because I've got such a great track record in the UK of being successful in doing this, it was very, very natural for me to transition these skills and hone them over here in Dubai into the exact same process. The way I operate in that sense is far different to other high street agents and traditional agents out here in Dubai, but I'll go through that in another video. In this episode, I'll be covering every detail from how and where to make the right investments here in the UAE. So the UAE is the most talked about place in the world currently. Now, you've probably seen recent studies and recent articles displaying it being the most stable economy in the world, yet I still hear people with their doubts about, is it a bubble and will it burst? The UAE has seen massive growth consistently year on year for a number of years now. It's been listed as the top stable economy by many news articles in recent studies. On top of that, it has the immense safety factor here. So when you're coming here with your family, you don't have to worry about crime, as parts of UK is pretty bad and USA is pretty bad as well, or parts of Australia. You don't have that concern over here. It's also been rated as the cleanest city to live in the entire world. And I can vouch for that as well. I mean, the floor's so good, you could probably eat your dinner off it, but I wouldn't advise that anyway. The UAE is in the center of the world, and it means it's fantastic for all these major cities internationally to connect with a lot shorter space of time when traveling internationally. Now, it leads me on to the big question here. How do I make the right investments? So there's two types of investments you can do over here in Dubai. It's secondary, which is a house that's already built, which you can get a mortgage on. The other more lucrative option is off-plan. Now, if many of you are familiar with the growth that's happened in such a short space of time over here in Dubai in particular, the off-plan market is where people made millions and millions of pounds when they made the right investments. There's no other place in the world that will offer this sort of capital appreciation in such a short space of time than the off-plan market in the UAE. You don't need to be a resident in the UAE to secure an off-plan. I get asked this question a lot of the time. I don't live in Dubai, I don't live in the UAE. Can I buy an off-plan unit? The answer is yes, it's very simple. Traditionally, every developer has their own process, but it'll be very similar to what I'm going to list now. A copy of your passport and a general KYC form with your full name, address, email number, corresponding address, and use of the purchase, whether it's investment or for personal use, occupation, and maybe how much you're earning each year. It will never deviate too much from this. It's a very basic KYC form. There will be no credit checks done for anyone who will be purchasing an off-plan. So when you're comparing it to investing in the secondary market, where you'll need a mortgage and to have credit checks, bank statements, it's a lot more effort, a lot more hard work. With off-plan, you pay that money down, you're committing to the purchase, and they don't ask any more questions. Another question I get asked is there a benefit to being a resident and buying off-plan? And the answer, with most developers, no. There are no special rates for those that live in the UAE compared to if you're investing in Australia, America, or Europe. So to summarize, passport copy of all those that will be the owners of the property, basic KYC form as listed previously, and then proof of payment once you have sent the reservation fee or whether you've sent the down payment, depending on which stage of the development it is. Okay, so we've found the development, we've found the property, the KYC, the passport, it's all good to go. Now we just got to get into the payment structures. So depending on the time of the development and when it's been launched, this will vary probably between one or two ways. EOI. So an EOI is an expression of interest. You may have seen this floating around. You see the big capital letters. What does this mean? This is a bit of financial skin in the game, as I like to call it. It's a reservation fee. Now this is fully deductible off your first payment as well. It's not on top of this. And I do get asked that question a lot as well. Remember, the EOI is fully deductible. What this means is on pre-launch or when the development is brand new, they will be taking expressions of interest to reserve allocation for a unit. Usually when placing an EOI, you're not choosing the specific unit, i.e. the unit number, looking at the exact floor plan. It'll be a bit more generic in the sense that Mr. Smith wants to reserve a 1-bed, so we're going to take an £8,000 or 40,000 dirham EOI, so that when the unit allocation comes out, Mr. Smith is going to be right at the top of the list so he doesn't avoid missing out. I do advise those, if you do have your eye on a development, if you are ready to go and you want to invest after speaking to myself, the EOI is vital to do so. And a lot of developers do actually allow a refund should you not get the desired unit you want as well. So you're not going to be left by losing out on £8,000 or 40,000 dirham. It can come back to you if your circumstances do change. So let's say the development has already been launched for a few months and they're no longer taking EOIs. So at this stage, myself, I'll have access to the available units. And if we want, for example, a 1-bed with a budget of 1.2 million with a view of the Burj Khalifa and an 800 square foot, well, I'll produce to you relevant sales offers for what fit in your budget. And on this sales offer, it will show the first payment due. So you've skipped the EOI stage and now we're at down payment stage. As a guide, most developers will do it in one of two ways. It may be the 20% down payment straight away of the total value. So if it's a 1 million dirham unit, you're putting down 200,000 dirham, and this is your 20% down payment. Other developers try to be a little bit more flexible for those that don't want to put down 20% straight away, and they will ask for 10% initially, and the next 10% could be anything from 30 to 90 days after the first 10%. This just puts a little bit less stress on you as an investor if you don't have all the capital there ready, but you are getting it guaranteed soon. So just to recap, it will either be 20% down or 20% spread over 90 days, depending on the developer. Just a little bit of an insight as well. You may find the reputable developers don't give you this flexibility. They won't give you discounts. They will ask for the 20% straight away. And you'll find that new developers that are trying to build a name for themselves, that are extremely trusted in the construction industry, are a lot more accommodating for you as an investor. And they try to help you in doing so with the payment structure, which I'll go into next. So payment plans, the big decision maker when it comes to investing in your property. Apart from infrastructure, as well as the reputation of the developer and the development itself, payment plan has got to be one of the key factors for you before ever investing. A lot of new developers or developers trying to make a name for themselves in a very competitive market here in the UAE will offer more flexible payment plans in comparison to the more established developers that don't feel they have the need to be as flexible, because they do feel their reputation precedes them, and they'll sell the units anyway, whether they do it on an 80-20 payment plan compared to someone else that's doing a 40-60 payment plan. So as an investor, when you're investing in a very reputable developer, high-end developer that are going to demand 80 to 90% during construction, you've got to know that during construction, the property is not going to generate you any income whatsoever. It's going to be taking income off you. So as an investor, it's always crucial to know what your financial situation is first before making that commitment. And when you look at it from the other hand, you could actually invest in a larger, more expensive unit or multiple units with a developer that has a more flexible payment plan. What fees are there for you as a buyer in the off-plan market? Well, I want to say straight away, there's no fees to me, so don't worry, you don't have to pay or incorporate a fee to myself. I know the information's great, but you can if you like to. I won't complain. There is a 4% DLD fee. This is what is very similar to like a stamp duty fee in the UK. Now in Dubai, this is due in the beginning. So it's always 20% plus the 4% DLD. Make sure you remember this and you put it into your calculations before committing to a unit. On top of that, there's usually a standard admin or accrued fee. This can vary with developer to developer, but as a guide, you should allocate around £1,000 to £3,000 for these fees, and these are unavoidable and these are the same for everyone. As I mentioned, Dubai want the 4% DLD fee in the beginning. However, there are different parts of the UAE that don't ask for this. To give you an example, Ras Al Khaimah, where the new Wynn Casino is going, the 4% DLD fee isn't due until handover. So as an investor, if you were to buy it and then resell it, which I'll talk about later, you effectively made a 4% margin compared to buying in Dubai compared to Ras Al Khaimah. So the down payment is made, the fees are paid, the DLD fee is paid. What happens next is the SPA. Now, this is probably going to blow a few of your minds because it's quite dated in the sense of, do I really have to sign this many pages? And the answer is yes, you do. So what you'll find is whether you're based in the UAE yourself and you can come into the office, or if you're based anywhere internationally, you'll get sent a very large envelope of papers to sign. These are effectively just title deeds for the unit you are purchasing, and it basically covers the unit you've purchased, the size, the building, details about the service charges, and a breakdown of your payment plan. Traditionally, this can be around 90 pages, and sometimes I know certain developers send 3 of these out. So you can imagine, make sure you've got a pen with a lot of ink when the SPA comes. Be sure to read through it. Any questions you have, reach out to myself, but they're all very standard across the board. Nothing there to catch you out. You've got to remember that the UAE is very, very competitive from a developer point of view. So they're not going to try and screw you over as a client by putting some sneaky clauses in there that are really going to tarnish their reputation. The standard is so high out here, it will blow your mind. So after you sign the SPA, it has to be returned to the developer, whether it be via DHL or if you're in the UAE, you can hand it to them personally. Either way, once this is done and then signed off, you will then receive the master SPA sent back from the developer, basically giving you your title deed for the property. As you can see, if you haven't done this before, it can be quite daunting. My processes are there in place to really make it easy for you. So every single step of the way, you'll be in touch with myself 24/7, my operations team at the company, as well as a sales developer manager as well in a WhatsApp group. So the communication is very, very easy for those to see. So if you do have any questions, you're not stuck sending emails to a developer with no point of contact. And my value in the whole process is to ensure that you're happy and comfortable from start to finish. The communication is there for the developer as well, so they're not having to chase, and it just mediates the whole process and makes it stress-free. Payment plans when it comes to off-plan. Now these are huge when it comes to making the right investment. Apart from infrastructure and the development itself, the payment plan is going to be the main factor for you as an investor. What you tend to find over here in the UAE is the more reputable developers are a lot more strict with their payment plans. Basically, in a nutshell, some developers will ask for up to 90% of the total value of the property during construction. You've got to bear in mind, as an investor, during construction, it's just going to be taking money from you and not generating you any income. So if you have a select amount of capital that you're happy to invest, the smarter option may be to look for a developer that has a more flexible payment plan, and some do as low as 30% during construction. So as you can see, the more flexible payment plans are a lot safer for you as an investor, as you don't expose yourself to all of your capital invested during construction. The benefit of these payment plans is to ensure that as an investor, you're giving yourself the best chance to make as much money as possible. It's not to say that the ones on a higher payment plan aren't going to be as lucrative for you, but it's going to cost you a lot more money to find out during construction. The successful investors in Dubai made their real massive money in the off-plan market. If you can imagine, on a £300,000 property, on a 50-50 payment plan, the most you're ever going to be exposed to in your own personal capital or money in the bank is £150,000. In some areas where properties have gone up in value by twice the amount during construction, which now this £300,000 property is worth close to £600,000, and you sell it for around that number, you've only invested up to £150,000 of the property. Therefore, netting a massive £450,000 of tax-free profit on your investment. These numbers are not so crazy that they don't happen. Many areas like downtown, the Palm, Marina, and luxury townhouse communities like Damac Lagoons have skyrocketed north of 80% profit during construction. Before I go into handover, you're probably wondering, when can I sell the property if I want to flip it, i.e. buying it and selling it before it's completed? Again, this does vary between developer to developer, but as a rule of thumb, anything between 30 and 40% should have you covered, in the sense that if your circumstances do change, you can sell it at this point. Alternatively, you could pay off 30% initially to have that freedom and flexibility, but as your expert in this whole process, I would advise to try and hold on to the property for as long as possible during construction. The real money is during the last 6 months of construction to handover. The reason this is the best time to sell is because people want the properties now. So effectively, the amount you've paid off during construction during this time, the real premium chunk is in this last 6 months. The reason I say this is because not only is the speed a massive factor, but again, during the last 1 or 2 months during construction, people will be able to mortgage the property. As an off-plan investment, remember, there's no mortgages available. It's all cash in the bank. So remember, as an off-plan, it's all money in the bank. There's no mortgages available. However, if the apartment is a month away from construction, it's going to appeal to mortgage buyers. And that means as an investor, you can put a higher premium on the property. Because look, you've paid off the property over 2 to 4 years. Mr. Buyer is coming to pay it off over 35 years on a mortgage. So of course we can really push the boundaries on a dirham per square foot for properties in this area, because we've got a brand new development and we've got buyers that are coming in with a mortgage to pay it off over 25 years. So that's why it goes back to my previous point of it being around 50% more than what you paid for. In good investment areas, this is very doable. In some instances, an agency, we have actually sold a property 3 times before it handed over, and each one of the sales was around 20 to 35% profit. So you could sell it fairly quickly, or my advice, leave it as late as possible if you definitely want to sell it, where we guarantee you to get the best return on investment by following my advice. So depending on the payment structure we have, I'm going to use a 50-50 one as an example. Come handover, so when the keys are ready, the developer is going to be expecting their 50%. How do we pay this? 1, cash in the bank, of course. Everywhere will accept this. But the property can now be mortgaged. So I have an in-house mortgage advisor that I recommend to all of my clients to ensure that if this was your strategy from the outset, we will have the right procedures in place to ensure that we're going to get you a mortgage come the time of handover. The developer doesn't care how they get their money, whether it's money from your bank or whether it's from a mortgage. In some instances, some developers are very generous, and these are my favorite types of developers. They offer a post-handover payment plan. So to give you an example, we paid 50% during construction, and then the developer may have a 48-month post-handover. So it could be a 52 or a 48, but it's roughly a 50-50. So what this process means is the developer will be expecting their 1% each month interest-free, regardless if you keep the house or for yourself or renting it out for a short-term let investment. So effectively, as an investor, if the strategy had always been, I'm buying this 1-bed apartment as an investment property that's going to generate me a high interest yield from renting it out, your short-term let tenants will be paying off direct to the developer. So you're never going to be in for more than 50% of the total value of the property out of your own pocket. These post-handover payment plans make it extremely attractive for investors, because if you were to sell the property before handover, the investor gets to carry over your payment plan as well. So they get all the benefits of that post-handover payment plan, even if your intention was never to have the post-handover payment plan and you wanted to flip it from day one. These post-handover payment plans could vary as well. It could go straight into the 1% per month or 5% per 6 months. Again, it will vary with each developer. Some may want a bullet payment as well, which could be a 10% chunk on handover, and then the remaining 40% spread out however they have outlined in the outset. So whichever route you go down with the whole process, I will be there with you every step of the way. Whether we go to short-term let and generating a high rental yield, whether we sell it on handover, or whether we sell it well before handover during construction, I will handle every single process for you as an investor. You haven't got to worry about dealing with different agents that you don't like. I don't know if you like me or not, but rest assured I'll be there with every step of the process to ensure that the investment is going to work out the best for you. So upon selling the property, remember the key factors to consider. Regardless of how much money you've put in, you're going to get the full profit of the property. So let's say, I'm going to use a £300,000 property example. Let's say you've only invested £100,000 and somehow you sell it for £400,000. Well, that means £400,000 minus the original price you paid for it, which was £300,000, means you're getting £100,000 profit. You get the full profit regardless of how much money you have invested. The common question I get asked, so if you've invested £100,000 and you sell it in 12 months, you've made £100,000 profit. That's 100% return on investment. These numbers, again, are very, very doable. We've seen it across the board in many successful areas. The good thing about the UAE, it's very young in its growth, and we can see these trends that have worked. So it means that we can actually find the smart investments for you based on previous success stories. And remember, the money is tax-free as well. So if you can just imagine how much higher it is compared to that of the UK or the States, when you incorporate your tax into it, you can soon see how the numbers are so attractive, you'd be bonkers not to get involved. So that pretty much covers the deep dive into off-plan investing in the UAE. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, where I'll keep you up to date with all things real estate, properties, investing here in the UAE.